Hi guys, Simon Trezellian again here, and second video in 2 days. But there's a lot that's going on, so I really felt the need to get on back today after the events of last night. You know, we saw some great speeches yesterday, not only from Clinton and Trump, but also from Obama himself, who really had a great deal of respect from me to, taking the higher ground and literally saying, let's just take this higher, and going from a point of view which he had some time ago, which was saying that he wouldn't accept the nomination of Donald Trump, now going to a point of actually wanting to see a smooth transition. Not necessarily what we saw from some of the supporters last night, who obviously didn't get the memo from both Hillary, or Clinton. And we're starting to see, massive riots, probably orchestrated, and we know exactly who's been orchestrating them, the same ones that's been doing it all the way through the election, to create this division. And this is what I want to talk about today, is division, and what it means to us, and also what it means and why that division is actually placed upon us by other people. It's the old divide and conquer, divide and rule type of thing, which we talked about yesterday. And we're starting to see it in sort of, major conurbations that were largely democratic. We've seen this in LA, in Oakland. We've seen Black Lives Matter getting involved with this. We've seen it in Chicago. We've seen it in New York. With a lot of these means of not my president. Well, the whole point of a democratic process, is exactly that. Is that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And as we've seen, this country swings back and forth, sort of quite substantially. However, my belief, and coming from a position of, from an intelligence point of view, is that division is exactly what you do if you want to undermine a process. This is why, sort of governments throughout the ages have supported, sort of fringe groups, terrorist groups, freedom fighter groups, whatever you want to call them, in order to be able to destabilize, a government, in order that you can then progress an agenda. Now, I've seen this division all the way through this process. It's been a very interesting electoral process from a position of behavior. I mean, I'm an expert in behavior and influence, and I've seen exactly what has gone on. There's a lot of this rhetoric about hate, but when people say, well, exactly what was said that was hateful, that was not necessarily either accurate or just someone's opinion, very few people can actually say what that is. I've got to say, this whole thing about being offended, having to retreat to safe spaces because you don't like someone's opinion, I mean, that I thought we let go of when we were like 5th and 6th grade, but we're seeing this played out now with people that will be in government in the next 5 to 6 years. This culture of entitlement is quite worrying, and I think that is why we're starting to see this real push to go back to almost like older values. I mean, those older values have been around for a long time because they work. Some of the more modern type of values, if you like, are more divisive. I mean, just because I'm a male doesn't necessarily mean that I'm a sexist. Just because I'm white doesn't make me I'm racist. Just because I'm straight doesn't make me a homophobe. And just because I have a different opinion to people doesn't make me stupid. I'm a very well read, very well educated person. I can actually have my opinion and not be told that my language is unacceptable. I have free speech, and that's been fought for by a lot of people over the years. So this division that I'm talking about, especially in the United States of America, is actually a bit of a misnomer. This United States, it really has never been united. We saw this with the Civil War. We've seen this culturally as well. I mean, professors throughout the country have recognized that there are pretty much between 9 and 11 distinct cultures within the United States of America, and you even find that in the UK as well. I mean, UK could fit into one of the American states quite easily, But I mean, so you get the North and the South divide. The Scots versus the Irish, the Welsh versus the English, and no one ever really gets on, so to speak. It makes great for for sports. sort of sports teams and that, the old enemy and this type of thing. But culturally, it's correct. The northeast of America is very different from the southwest, which is very different to Texas, which is very different to California, which is very different to the Midwest. This is actually, I actually printed this off so you can actually see. These are the areas where they believe are the cultural divides of the United States of America. Okay, so you got the Northwest. They're very different to the Southwest. California is different to everybody, and we're seeing now this Calexit thing which came out yesterday. Interesting that in my book Cradle Falls that I'm writing now, I have both Texas and California seceding from the Union. Interestingly enough, of course, it's called the Republic of Texas and the Californian Republic. No one else has that written into their title or their constitution. So these are two very, very large economies. Both Texas and California. I think California is the 6th largest economy in the world. Texas is behind them, but they still have a greater GDP, in some ways a greater populace than most European countries. They would qualify if they were to get out, but of course that's what the Union is, indivisible, so one would assume that they would create another civil war for them to secede, because democracy doesn't allow them to do that under states' rights. But culturally they're different. Now, this is where the kicker is that who is best served by disunity? Well, let's have a look at the other areas. Right? You've heard of FEMA, yeah? Federal Emergency Management Act, yeah? Well, this is FEMA areas, okay? These are the areas that they decided that they would create in order to manage any form of problem, whether that be a natural problem or whether that be disunity within the Union. Now, let's just put these two together, shall we? You see what they've done? The FEMA areas have been matched to the cultural areas. So why would FEMA do that? It's not for administration, it's because it has the ability to harness the divisions of the United States. Now, if you harness a division, they can't get together. If they can't get together, then they can't win a war. So if you are having a war on the hearts and minds of America, you start with FEMA. You start with a major problem, whether that be a Hurricane Katrina or a Hurricane Sandy or a Calexit or a Texit. Once these things happen, FEMA comes in and everything is suspended under the NDAA. Okay? The Constitution is suspended. Martial law is imposed. And the cultural element of people, what happens when they're under stress is that they recede before they secede. They recede and they regroup. They become more nationalist. They go into their own little clans. You'll find that there'll be the Afro-Americans will stick together because they feel stronger together in that way. The Hispanics would do the same, the whites would do the same. You see this in prison populations all the time. And in all the prison populations you see that is the rise of extremists. The whites get together because they fear the blacks and Hispanics, and then they join the Aryan Brotherhood, and now you've got more extremists. This is what we are looking at in America unless we can actually rise above that, as Obama said. Rise above that, as everyone else is trying to say. People need to get that memo. They need to get together and actually become as one, united and indivisible. There is a reason that the Founding Fathers did that. They recognized that tyrants try to split you apart. They try to say, it's the Jews that are the problem, it's the blacks that are the problem. The fact is, it's the elite that are the problem, it's the shadow government that is the problem. The people that seek to divide you are the problem. Do you not think you're being played right now? If we don't get this right, it will be FEMA camps and it will be administrative areas and it will be martial law, and you won't have a constitution. You won't have the ability to stand on the streets and say, not my president. You will not have that option. So, people, you need to get yourselves together. You need to love one another. You need to recognize that we're all human beings, not human doings. We've got to be. You know, we got to be who we are, be proud of who we are, but also recognise the sovereign right of other people to be who they are too. And you respect that and you love them for it. You don't hate them for that. Why would you hate someone for being themselves? Doesn't make any sense. So get your act together, America. Let's rise above this. Let's get together and let's make this a really, really powerful union. More powerful and stronger union. That's me, Simon Chazelian, for what it's worth. Bye bye now.